All right, I think we're on. How are we doing, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. This is a long time coming, this show. I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the archiver of all things bizarre and the pineapple on pizza enjoyer, Dave Martel. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, sir. How we doing?
So last time you was on the show, we went through the Bizarchives and what you had released at the time. We've had some new releases since then. And I said, you got to come back on and talk about a metal band. And you didn't even think for a second. You went, we're doing Nevermore. So This is what we're doing. I've got a few bits to show off as we go along. I've got my little box set here. I've got some cool little editions of different albums. I've got a cassette. So we'll go through.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go through that as we go along. So you've got a visual guide. And
I love your library. That you live in the Bizarchives right there. That is it right
there. The Bizarchives, yeah.
I am so jealous, dude. I would just hang out in that room there for days. I would just
I do. I'm constantly, getting either a knock on the window there or a phone call and just like, have you forgotten you're married? I'm like, who's this? So
yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, this used to be a tool shed, and we put an extension on the house, and all of this was just in the loft, just sitting there gathering dust. And it just went, well, why don't you? And there's a garden centre down the end of the road here that build these, and it was like, yeah, and so this is what I've ended up with. So yeah,
I love it. I'd show you my man cave, but it's it's kind of a disaster. We got boxes, book boxes.
That's what mine was before. It was just a load of boxes with a bit of space, and then I've been able to design all this. And it's a pretty cool room, pretty cool. So before we get into this, we'll do an update on the Bizarchives. Since you've was last on the show, I think we've got one more here. I don't know if these are in order, but these are the ones I've picked up since. For those that are unfamiliar, Dave runs the Bizarchives, which is a picking up really of Weird Tales magazines and Pulp Fiction, and he puts out different science fiction, fantasy, and horror. A mixture of new material by new authors and reissues of older, more obscure horror stories. So you can check out the previous video. I'll put that in the description here so you can watch the first one. But yeah, since then, I suppose this is the best place to start up as any. You've got issue 4 now of the Bizarchives.
Yep.
If you want to give us a brief overview of each, this one's really cool as well. You've got I just flicked past it. Where is it? You've got some great illustrations peppered throughout the book we
got illustrations from several contributors. That's actually done by Mr. M.S. Jones himself. Drew his own picture for his own story.
All right.
Yeah, what an amazing talent that guy is. Yeah, that's how's it done by a guy? He emailed me. I gave him 2 descriptions, and he just sent them back to me, and I never talked to him again or before. I think his name's Alan. I'm sorry, Mr. Allen. I can't remember your name, but he has like a professional life, and he doesn't like to be on the internet or whatever. But so that's him. And then we have Arturi Cavella did art in there. But as far as the authors, all the guys that everybody likes returned. A. Cuthbertson, M.S. Jones, myself, all the guys, Robert C. Booth, and there's some new ones in there. Some guys returning from the first issue. It's a dope issue, I think. I'm really proud of that one.
Yeah, and if you check out the Bizarchives YouTube channel, you'll see as well. I don't know if this is a new ongoing thing. I hope it is, but you've started to put up audio of certain stories as well.
Yep, we got there's a Bizarchives YouTube channel that's sort of abandoned, but up there we have the audiobook for Tanner's Gold from Bizarchives 1, and then also on my channel I posted the reading of Dune Lord's Dreaming from Bizarchives.
Also, it's on your channel, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So this one was a nice little surprise. Put my tongue back in. Spire, a
Yep.
nice success. This one caught everyone off guard. How well this one did.
Yeah,
This is by a British author as well, Mr. A.
Goodperson. Yeah.
Goodperson. Even I
Yeah.
couldn't to do a double take there. But yeah, this is a sci-fi book, and yeah, like I say, this one did pretty well. Where did this one chart in the?
It went up to number 12 on bestsellers in the UK.
There you
Number
go,
12.
folks. So
that was selling better than stuff like Neuromancer and Philip K. Dick books, and like it was number 12, which we were very, very proud of Mr. AC, and you know, it was a pretty cool feather to put in the cap.
And we've got the Chronicles of Heraldria, Sacred Times Part 1. This is Part 1 of an ongoing series.
Yep.
And this is British author as well.
I'm sorry?
Is this a British author as well?
Yep.
Marcus
Yeah,
S. Jones?
Yeah, Mr. M.S. Jones is a British guy. Both of those guys are from I guess North England. They're Geordies.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we got probably about 40 to 60% of all of our authors are Brits. So we have a very nice mix of American and Brits working together, writing together, you know.
Yeah, also, like I say, I love this project. So
Thank you.
Long may it continue. We've got the Shanghai Horror.
Yep, that's our boy Arbogast. He's an American guy. Appalachia boy.
And I've got to prepare for this one. The Molybdus Articulate.
Yeah,
I got that right?
Yep, you nailed it. Molybdus Articulate by Shane Hawkes. He's actually my kinsman in real life.
Yes, and this is for you Lovecraft fans out there.
Yeah, that is nightmare fuel. That book is so weird and gory and bizarre and otherworldly. It's freaky. It'll give you, if you're not somebody that's really into that stuff, it'll freak you out. I had a lady actually message me, and she said she really appreciates the Bizarchives and she likes some of my other books, but she couldn't finish the Molybdus Articulate because it gave her nightmares.
There you go, folks. There you go. So yeah, we'll get into Nevermore. Let's have a brief overview. What do you think is special about Nevermore, and what made you want to speak about them? Why were they the band you chose?
So Nevermore for me are I firmly believe that if they are not they are one of the most underrated bands of all time.
Yeah, definitely.
Like this is a band that was in the wrong place at the wrong time. They started they were kicking around in Seattle during like the big grunge boom. So like this is like at a time where they've like abandoned metal in that area, and like all the clubs wanted to book grunge bands. So they were in the wrong place, in the wrong era, at the wrong time. And on top of that, they sort of fell between genres. They're not quite power metal. They're not quite progressive metal. They're not quite extreme metal. They sort of fall in between all of these things. And they have this really kind of intellectual subject matter in regards to relationships with spirituality and machines, like the advancement of technology and government and pharmaceuticals, and like all across the board with their subject matter. So it was like all of these things together created this imperfect storm for Nevermore to like fall through the cracks, period. And it is a damn shame, because they are one of the most unique, imaginative, incredibly talented. They're like a super group, effectively, with the talent of each member of the band. And they just wrote these incredible albums, and these really just incredible songs. They're just a legendary band that never got the respect they deserve, and they're just one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, they're shamefully, I bought one of their albums probably about 15 years ago, and I didn't like it, and then just didn't bother with them. But everyone that liked Nevermore told me you started with the wrong album, because it was Enemies of Reality.
Yeah.
And they went, oh no, it's been remixed. You should have checked out the album before or afterwards and all that. And it was just, I don't know. And it's only the last couple of years that I've actually, it's clicked into place for me now. And now I get it. And I wish I took advantage when they were there. I wish I saw them. I wish I appreciated them at the time. But hey ho. but yeah, you've got how many albums did they do? You've got 7, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 7 albums. And even I'd say 5 of them are easily going to go down in history as classics in the metal genre. The history is going to look back on them very, very fondly. And I think everyone like me is going to be kicking themselves, wishing they appreciated them more while they were here. And even at their worst, you know, we'll go into the catalogue, and there's a couple of albums that maybe didn't quite reach the quality that they had on other albums. But as a failed musician, I think I can say I would love to have been as good as Nevermore on a bad day. You know, I'd love to have put out an album as good as Nevermore's worst. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so just going over the beginning, Nevermore actually found from the ashes of another band called Sanctuary. All I've got here is a 2-in-1 disc here, but they put out an album called Refuge Denied.
Refuge Denied. Yeah.
Let's see if I got no. So yeah, that's all I've got there on the on the left there. Classic Ed Repka artwork there was actually produced by Dave Mustaine as well.
Yep.
So they toured with Megadeth at the time, and then in the 90s, well, it was Virgin on 80s and 90s. This is a kind of an extension of what you were saying. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time because they kind of missed the thrash wave, although they were never quite thrash, but with the Dave Mustaine connection. But then they put out Into the Mirror Black a little while afterwards. So you had this sort of, even then there was quite an evolution within these 2 albums, but it's a good 1-2 punch. And then you've got, so it's kind of like with Hellhammer and Celtic Frost, sorry. You can't, they kind of merged into another, and you can't really have one without the other either. You see what I mean? I think Jeff Loomis did join Sanctuary as well on the last days. So,
and just for a note, they did release an album in 2014 called "The Year the Sun Died."
Yeah, we'll be getting to that as well.
Okay. I actually haven't heard. I haven't heard it at all. I completely forgot about it.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. Well, I'll give you a brief overview of it when we get to the end now. It's very different. It's more of a Nevermore album than it is a Sanctuary album, I think. But yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, what do you think of these 2 albums, just quickly before we?
Oh, I love the early Sanctuary stuff. Yeah, you know, there's so many just great songs on there. You have like Battle Angels. Battle Angels is like one of my favorite. You have there's that weird White Rabbit cover.
Yes.
That just, it's like, you know.
Well, the classic cover is something that I think Warrel Dane, he keeps revisiting throughout, because he does it throughout Nevermore. Every so often they'll throw in a cover of like a classic sort of 70s song, and he does it a couple of times. He does it once or twice on his solo albums as well. So that's something that he would always, and for me, it always has mixed results, but they always attempt at, you know, redoing it in their own style. So it's always an interesting cover, even if it doesn't always quite work. But,
and both of those albums are really great. You know, Refuge Denied is a little bit, is more old school. It's very thrashy. It would be I guess you could put it like King Diamond adjacent, or
Warrel Dane is doing the King Diamond highs on that album as well, especially during the chorus of Battle Angel.
But what's really special about Sanctuary is they don't really use the same kind of scales as a lot of the other thrash guys are. You know what I mean? They have a very unique sound, especially, and it really comes to fruition when you get into the Mirror Black. Into the Mirror Black it's a little bit different. It's a little less typical 80s thrash, and there's more melodic passages.
It's more progressive, isn't it? It's more, more Sabotage, more Queensryche sort of thing.
Yep. And there's more good songs on it. You got the title track, you got One More Murder, you got Epitaph, and then the big song off of it is like really like a prophetic future tense. Like they're literally talking. I view that song, Future Tense, as like Warrel Dane lamenting that he's like, you know, on the, like falling through the cracks of like musical eras. And you know, it's like it's really interesting.
It's pretty relevant still as well today. It's like that's, you know, you might want to check that out as well. Is Inception? That was the demo reissued. With new artwork from Ed Retro as well.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, check that out. So I'm trying to get hold of decent editions of these two, but unless I want to pay an arm and a leg, this is the best one I can find. But yeah, so with disagreements on with their record label and a bit of a disagreement on where they should go musically, Sanctuary kind of dissolved and they reformed. From the ashes of Sanctuary, Nevermore formed, and so we'll get into the main crux of it now. After a couple of demos, they put out their first album, which is self-titled.
Yep.
This is a Brutal Planet edition they've reissued now their entire back catalogue apart from the EP. But you get a little baseball card thing here. You get a gold CD, which apparently lasts longer. They don't degrade over time. And some people don't like the border that you get there. So if you just spin it around, you've got the original artwork as well. So you can
Very cool.
choose. And you get liner notes and all that good shit. So Brutal Planet Records, check them out. But yeah, I would say with the debut album, it's a really good album. It's just not, they've not quite become what we know and love them for just yet. But this is a nice.
They're like they're in their larva phase.
Yeah, this is the step between Sanctuary. It's the remnants of Sanctuary, but we're not quite Nevermore just yet, are we?
But wasn't Pat O'Brien on that album?
No, they're just a 4-piece on this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Pat O'Brien comes on the next EP. The lineup on this album is, it's the main. You've got the 4 main guys basically. You got Warrel Dane, who we will be talking a lot more about as we go on, I'm sure. On vocals, Jeff Loomis on guitar, Jim Shepard on bass, who was also in Sanctuary, and then you got Van Williams on drums as well. But on this album, the drums was actually split between Van Williams and Mark Arrington. So you actually got 2 drummers on this album. But yeah, this is. I think the best way with Nevermore is, as you mentioned, they were your classic heavy metal in the terms of with a bit of progressive elements. So think Queensryche, think Fate's Warning, Metal Church. I'd say there's a bit of Dio in there as well. But they've acknowledged that death metal has happened and Pantera have happened. They've got that. They've incorporated that classic heavy metal. I don't want to say formula, but the feeling of the classic heavy metal albums, but they've incorporated in that 90s crunch that came along with more of a sonic, sort of upgrade with your death metal bands, your Panteras, your Prongs, Sepultura. They've acknowledged that the metal has moved on from them, but they've then just combined the two.
Yeah, they certainly, like Van Williams brings a lot more complexity as far as like timing and his different rhythms that he uses. And also, even the first Nevermore album, you start to hear that they're using different scales. They're using different tones, and they sound different than other bands at this time. But you're right. Yeah, they recognize that death metal has happened, and they added the complexity and the technicality, and they also recognize that Pantera happened. So they got grooves in there. There's the cool chunky breakdowns. This is actually the song, the hit song from this album was the first Nevermore song that I heard. I came across I believe this was it Century Media Records or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was watching or hearing or whatever, but I heard the song and I remember hearing it. And then I was like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. And then I forgot about it. And then I had a friend at the time and he's like, yo, you ever hear of this band Nevermore? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I think I heard one of those. And I went and I looked it up. And at the time, it was like, I guess it was like 2000. I guess it was 2000. I was in ninth grade in high school. So I went and I downloaded it on like LimeWire or something like that. And it just was like on one of my mix CDs and I listened to it. And like, that's all the further I went with it. And then I'll tell you later on when we get to the album that I really dove into Nevermore with. But it was What Tomorrow Knows was the first song that I heard.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's the opening track. And Garden of Grey is a highlight for me as well. I really like that's got that classic heavy metal as well. Even I could say Manowar really, because it's just got that bass, that dun, 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 that rolling bass riff that just carries the song along, just holds it up. In the garden, it's fucking awesome.
Great.
And I'm thinking Bruce Dickinson, and because Bruce Dickinson would have been solo at the time, and Dio must have heard this and thought, yeah, this is, because they would have been thinking at the time, like, how do I navigate this sort of modern metal landscape? And just like I was saying, taking the classic metal sounds but incorporating that new modern crunch, as I said, Dio did that in his later days, and Bruce Dickinson perfected that, in my opinion, on Chemical Wedding. I was going to say Tattooed Millionaire. I was like, no, that's not right. That album, I think he melded that perfectly as well.
Speaking of Dickinson, you ever hear of the album? Was that Abduction?
Yes, that was on. Oh shit!
Oh, that's not the album. That's like one of the tracks.
Yeah, but I know Tyranny of Souls.
That's it. Yeah. I like that album. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I've got a whole podcast on Maiden where we did an album. It was during the lockdowns. We did an album a week, but we did the solo albums, the side projects, everything.
Yeah, I watched it. I saw it.
So, yeah, I like that album as well. There wasn't nothing wrong with that. It wasn't quite as good as the others, but as we say, Bruce on a bad day, that'd be nice. So, but yeah, a good, promising statement of intent. And what would go on though? It's all the highlights are yet to come. So next up we have so that was 1995. 1996 we go from a 4-piece to a 5-piece with the addition of Pat O'Brien, and they put out the in memory. I was going to say in memoriam then. I don't know where I got that from, but yeah, in memory EP. Basically picks up where the first album left off. Obviously, you got a bit more technical in the solos. It's a bit of a taste of what's to come, but then I think things really pick up on Politics of Ecstasy. This is the soul album with Pat O'Brien, unfortunately, but an interesting album, to say the least. What do you think?
I don't. I'm actually not familiar with those. I actually from Self-Titled, I went to Dreaming Neon Black.
Right.
So I'm actually not familiar with those in between.
Oh well, this has got plenty to talk about. Yeah, there's some great songs on this one, and this Sacrament is the opening one. Politics of Ecstasy, the title track. But what's really cool is the closer. It's well, you've got two tracks. You've got one 42147, but then that leans into the Learning, which is I think it's about 12 minutes long. Let me quickly get the timing right on that one. Oh no, yeah, it's just under 10 minutes long. But that one that's the epic they play live. But they didn't play it often because they could fuck it up. So it goes
I am familiar with this with this album. I just loaded it up. You got Tiananmen. I don't know how to say that. Yeah, the 42147. The Seven Tongues. Yeah, I know all these songs.
Yeah, exactly. But
these are good songs.
I was reading at the time as well. Because Pat only did the EP before it, in memory, and then this album, and Warrel Dane says he actually became a Cannibal Corpse fan because of Pat.
Really?
Pat, everyone knew that Cannibal Corpse was Pat's favorite band. So when he left to join Cannibal Corpse, it was like, well, we weren't exactly happy about it, but we knew that was his favorite band and couldn't begrudge him it at all, But it's a bit of an odd one, really, because now obviously Pat's so heavily, recognized as Cannibal Corpse. It's quite funny to think of him being in this melodic metal band beforehand. Oh, one cool little detail as well on Nevermore during the during the first album, they toured with Death on the Symbolic tour, Chuck Schuldiner specifically selected them and wanted them to be the opening act, and it was Warrel Dane, because Chuck would then go on to do Control Denied. He was saying to Gene Hoglan, I wish I could I don't really want to be a frontman anymore. I don't really like my vocals. I wish I could just play guitar in a band with a singer like Warrel Dane. So I think that first Control Denied album is quite technical and a bit widdly in play. I could see them evolving into a Nevermore-esque band, you know what I mean? And yeah, the fact that he was saying he loved the classic singers as much as everyone else, your Dickinsons, your Dios, Jeff Tate. He said that Chuck Schuldiner was saying Warrel Dane, he is the new, classic metal singer. He is our generation's Dio as such. And I thought that was a cool thing to learn recently.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So coming up now. So this was 95. No, it wasn't. It was 96. And then 1999, we have what many regard as the masterpiece. Many of people say this is their favorite album. It's definitely up there for me in the top 3. Yeah. But Dreaming Neon Black, and there's a story behind this one. Do you want to go into it?
Yeah. So Dreaming Neon Black is about Warrel Dane had a girlfriend or fiance. I'm sure Mr. Joe, you can clean up some of the details after I tell, but he had his girlfriend or whatever, and she was part of some sort of weird new agey Christian cult or whatever. And I guess there was some sort of something between them. They got, I can't remember exactly the details, but she was on her way to like a meetup for, this cult thing.
Some function, yeah.
Yeah. And she got, picked up by a serial killer at a truck stop, and she was like missing. And this like screwed Warrel Dane up like forever, right? He never really got over this. So this whole album is literally about him lamenting his girlfriend that got murdered. And that she got killed in a very, very gruesome, rotten kind of way. And the song, the title track, Dreaming Neon Black, is one of the saddest, heart-wrenching songs ever written. It's like Tears in Heaven, Tears in Heaven.
Yeah.
It's really, really sad, but it's a beautiful, beautiful song. The whole album is beautiful.
Hauntingly beautiful. It's got that particular song as well, that was the title track. It's got a bit of a Type O Negative vibe for me as well. Life of Agony, when they would get their more slow, doomier tracks. But also you've got, I forgot to mention as well, you got Tim Calvert replaced Pat O'Brien on guitar, so there's still a 5-piece on this one, and he was in Forbidden. He was on their first 2 albums. But a really good is Christine Rhodes, who she's the female backing vocalist on this album, and she would go on to do all their albums really. Any time they incorporated any female vocals in, but she did a bit as well on Jeff Loomis's solo albums, but we'll come to them later. But yeah, when he's meet me in the what's the lyrics?
Meet me in the drowning pool of tears.
And then swim through me. It's fucking haunting. That sticks in your head as well, that chorus.
Beautiful song. Beautiful song.
But again, everything on here is great. It's a fantastic album. There's not a Lotus Eaters is a great track.
Ophidian,
the opening track.
Poison God Machine. There's so many good. There's a lot of good songs on this album. It's very good. Not my favorite though. Not my favorite.
I think you'll find if you go 100 people, what's the best Nevermore album? I think you'll find it will be neck and neck with this though. With the other one, most will mention this. I think you got it's a split between 3, but yeah, but definitely this was the solidifying album. The your third album's normally your last, or it's you're cemented now and you're staying, think Master
or
Puppets.
You get worse. Nevermore, this is what's unique about Nevermore is, in my opinion, up until the very last album, which I'm not a fan of, but they kept getting better.
Yeah.
They not only did they, because most bands, their first 3 albums are their best. They kind of go down, and then they might put out 1 or 2 decent ones, but that aren't as good as the first ones, but they never kind of recover. Nevermore, in my opinion, like got better as time went on.
Yeah, definitely. The first album is a solid album, but from the second album onwards, I think now we're going to enter like a 5-album winning streak and find another band, maybe Slayer, the first 5 Slayer albums. But you know what I'm getting at with that golden period of any given band. I think this is up there with any of your classics, be it, you know, whatever golden rush run you'd want to think of or compare it to. But so Dreaming Neon Black is the first masterpiece, if you will. And then up next is another masterpiece. I held that up earlier as a cassette, but I've got all sorts in here. But yeah, the Dead Heart in a Dead World.
Oh my God, I actually like this one better than Dreaming Neon Black. Yeah, this is my second favorite.
And this is actually this is the other, and this is probably my favorite. It's got my favorite song on it. The Believe in Nothing. I think
beautiful.
I shared that with someone recently. Well, 2 songs on here actually. You got the Heart Collector and Believe in Nothing. And I was saying to a friend the other day, I was like, look, this band could shred with the best of them, but fuck, could they write a ballad?
Hell yeah.
Believe in Nothing, that Warrel Dane is singing, he's pouring his heart out during that chorus.
It's an interesting song, Believe in Nothing, because Warrel Dane is, he came out of that like, I guess he was part of that weird new agey Christian cult thing. And, this isn't like a big religion debate or anything like that. I'm just talking from his point of view.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
he had this like reaction to it, and he became kind of this like self-hating atheist, right? Or maybe agnostic, or he became a-religious, right? And critical of religion and critical of whatever. And a lot of this was like this like self-hating. And Believe in Nothing is this track where he's like, I believe in nothing, but he's like lamenting that he believes in nothing.
Yeah.
Like he wishes he could, but he can't because of his trauma and everything and his experience. And it's like I'm very fascinated by I'm a religious guy, but I'm very fascinated by people that are not religious, but like go the opposite way than most like atheistic people. Most atheistic people are like, they're like, oh, I'm a materialist or whatever. And it's just really fascinating to me the guys that are a-religious but lament it. You know what I mean? They're like, I wish I could. And a lot of times the art that these guys come out with, people of this like archetype, is really, really beautiful or weird or out there. Obviously the one that comes to my mind, H.P. Lovecraft is a completely different art form, but he was of this caliber too. He was very critical of the religion that was around him in this time, but he very much lamented this idea, and he created a mythos, right? So it's like this it's a really fascinating kind of psychology that these kind of guys have. And also this album, man, I could just name Narcosynthesis. What a catchy song. Probably my favorite breakdown and solo ever in any song ever. The River Dragon Has Come. What a dope song that is. It is like the last time we hear Warrel Dane falsettos is in that song, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got Dead Heart in a Dead World. Great song. Inside Four Walls. Dun, 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 dun,
oh,
dun,
yeah.
dun. Such a great riff. Man, Sound of Silence. That's a Simon and Garfunkel cover. Heart Collector sang. What a like this album rules.
This
dude.
is every note on this is perfect. Everything is where it needs to be. It's perfectly paced. Every song stands on its own.
You would think this is like a greatest hits. This album,
Turn my debt to gold. And but yeah, again, that believe in nothing, that nothing is sacred when no one is saved, and it's just backed by Jeff Loomis's beautiful melodic solo, which is up there with anything Kirk Hammett could have come up with,
Oh, better. Kirk Hammett. Oh, come on. So I'm not a Kirk Hammett hater. You know, he's cool because he likes.
I'm thinking like, you know, on Unforgiven or something like that, where it's just that perfect sort of climax to the song. It just tips it off. You know, that's what.
Yeah, Kirk Hammett is a great songwriter, but if we're talking just like prolific guitar players, Kirk Hammett doesn't even deserve to be in the same room as Jeff Loomis. Jeff Loomis is up there with Malmsteen and like just the greatest guitar players of all time. You know what I mean? Kirk Hammett is very good. He wrote a lot of really great songs. He played some good solos, but it's like, you know, Jeff Loomis is you know, an enigma. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think of him now in Arch Enemy?
I'm not really a big Arch Enemy fan.
Yeah, that's the everything is.
He's getting money.
They tick all the boxes, but for some reason it's just not. It doesn't quite.
I don't like girls doing harsh vocals, number one, and I think it sounds weird, and I don't really believe that it's natural. And then number two, I just don't. I think Arch Enemy's a little too bubblegum. It's a little too. Yeah, I don't know.
I think the new vocalist does a bit of both, but yeah, there's something a little bit too polished. It's that typical sort of modern Nuclear Blast sound. I don't know if they're on Nuclear Blast, but you know what I mean when I say the Nuclear Blast sound.
Yeah, they they go into like the category for me like Cradle of Filth is in. Cradle of Filth is like, I don't know. I think they stink.
I don't have a single Cradle of Filth album, but I've always enjoyed them live, and I've always watched them when they're part of a package. So I've not gone to see them, but they're there. But I've always enjoyed them while they were on. I've always gone like, yeah, I kind of like, you know, I've got this band wrong. But then when I go to listen to them, it's like, no, I just can't do it. But but yeah, I will say they put on a good live show at least. But yeah, Dead Heart in a Dead World is a. I was just found this out yesterday. Warrel Dane, after Nevermore, when he was solo, did this album in full with his solo band. Do you know that?
Yeah. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to see if I can find a decent filmed show on YouTube or something like that. There's loads of Nevermore shows on YouTube. Some pretty well filmed ones as well. So, yeah, moving on. So, my where I went wrong. I started in the wrong place, but I actually like this album a lot more than what I did at the time. But yeah, up next is Enemies of Reality. I'll take out the... so you can see the artwork there. I think I saw that and I was expecting like a death metal album because I saw that in the shop and just went, yeah, I'm getting that. And then when I got it, you know,
like, this is probably my least favorite album. There's only like the title track, I Voyager, which is a really good song, and there's like one or two others that are pretty good. It doesn't slap. You know what I mean? It doesn't. After a Dead Heart in a Dead World and Dreaming Neon Black, this, you know, it doesn't do it for me. It's not bad. Like you said, if I released Enemies of Reality, I would be like, yeah, I'm the man. But compared to like their other masterpieces, this is just it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I like I Voyager. You mentioned that as well. The first track's pretty good. Yeah, this basically. I think this maintains the standard rather than sets a new standard, which was what they were doing with each album at the time. It was kind of just this is the first album really where it's Nevermore just being Nevermore, you know. But we'll move on.
And this is the album that Steve Smythe comes on, right?
No, they recorded this one as a 4-piece. And it was originally produced by Kelly Gray, but then controversially, the production was slammed by a lot of people. So they reissued it a year or two down the line, remixed by Andy Sneap. But yeah, the album was actually recorded as a 4-piece. I think I think that might be later on. Right, Steve Smythe though comes on the next album.
Oh yeah,
and I don't know. I'm thinking you're not liking this one for some reason. This Godless Endeavor. This isn't your favorite at all. Is it?
Yeah. This this album, like, this is one of the desert island albums for me. This is one of the albums I listened to front to back so many times I couldn't even tell you. This is one of the greatest albums ever written of all time in my book. Every song rules. Every song is memorable. This is Nevermore, like, final form, right? This is their final form. The subject matter is so, like, fascinating. Everything, dude. It's like you start with what's the first song on the album? You got
Born.
Born.
It's banger after another. Born, Final Product, Acid Words. Yeah, Bittersweet Feast.
Yep.
Every song on this is awesome. You got the title track.
At the end, the title track is just like that crescendo of that song, Godless Endeavor, where they go into the sweeps and everything. It's just, oh my God, I could probably sing every lyric on this entire album front to back. I absolutely adore it. I think it's fantastic.
Well, Born as well. You've just got that perfect formulated metal song, which has got everything that you want. It's got good driving riffs, good pummeling drums, a soaring chorus, catchy melodic vocals as well. It's just everything just comes together on that perfect opener. Final Product as well. What I love about Warrel Dane as well, he can apply any subject matter. He could go, debating religion and the human condition, and then he can just flip it and go sci-fi with machines and all the rest of it. And then he does social commentary as well. But he was never that you could be social. You could give social commentary, but you don't have to be political. Or he could be political, but he wouldn't be preachy. You know what I mean? It was
Warrel Dane was a storyteller at his heart. So he could, like, for example, like you Bittersweet Feast. That's talking about politicians being crooks. You know what I mean? But if you listen to the song, you think it's just kind of like this. It's more kind of in this abstract space, a little bit more creative. You got like Medicated Nation is about pharmaceutical companies. My favorite track on the whole album, Sentient 6, is about an AI unit that becomes aware and goes, it's so good. I love this album. This is a great album.
Well, again, Final Product. The media jumps on the latest suicide. They twist it. And then profit from the people who died. How even now, because you didn't have social media probably existed in when was this, 2005. So social media definitely existed then, but it wasn't on terms of your TikToks and your Instagrams, and you're having these influencers committing suicide because they've not got enough, because their channels plummeted and as much as the media always did make a big thing about a celebrity suicide, it's still nothing like. It's only got worse, isn't it? He called it with that song. And Acid Words is again, we mentioned Pantera earlier. That opening part of Acid Words, that boom, boom, dun, 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 bang. Excellent
groove.
I mean, as much, it's a shame we never got to see this album in full. Actually, what do you think of that when a band does do an album in full? I always really enjoy it. I think it's a testament to see how much of an album is played live. Kind of contributes to how much of a classic it is. Some people hate it, but if it's a fan of, if it's a band I'm a fan of, I'm happy to go to it. And anything, if I see a band's doing an album in full, it'll make me go, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, if a band can do an album in full, for example, I saw Slayer in 2004 or 5. Wait, no, it was later. 2010. I can't remember. I saw Slayer some years ago, and their entire encore was the entire Rain and Blood album. So it's like, if you are a band that can do a full album, then like you're a legend. You know what I mean? I don't dislike it at all. I think I don't know. I don't know. I personally like it. I think it's really cool. I'm somebody that appreciates the albums, like albums. I appreciate albums that have their own vibe and have their own kind of contained, their contained energy about them and their own concepts and stuff like that. And to me, just playing all of your hits in a row and like whatever is, I mean, it's cool. I like it, but to go up and play an entire album for the audience to experience in its contained form, to me is like very special. I really like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was particularly cool as well when Slayer did Rain in Blood. Was it wasn't announced that they were going to do it. It was just the encore. So you think, oh right, they finished the set, they're going to do Angel of Death and Rain in Blood. That'd be cool. But no, piece by piece.
Yep.
Necrophilia, Altar of Sacrifice, and everyone's just sort of looking around going, hold on, But bear with me one sec. I just want to put the light on. It's starting to get a bit dark. One sec.
Do your thing. But yeah, this album is for you guys out there that may not have heard any Nevermore. My suggestion is either start with this one or Dead Heart in a Dead World. The problem is that if you start with this album, you might be a little bit disappointed by the other albums. It's just, maybe, I don't know. If you're going to listen to one Nevermore album, in my opinion, it's going to be this one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. I think the trilogy is this: Dead Heart in a Dead World and Dreaming Neon Black. But I wouldn't recommend Dreaming Neon Black to be the one to start with. No, that's a deep album, But yeah, I think for the untrained ear, I'd go, yeah, this is the best place to start. For the first 3 songs alone, you know what you're getting from that point,
And then also during this album, this is where you get Steve Smythe. I think Steve Smythe is a big contributor to this album, particularly and its sound. Steve Smythe actually went on and had a solo project. I believe it was called Spheres or something like that. And it was actually really, really good. It was like this progressive kind of jazzy, heavy, experimental instrumental album. And it was very, very good.
I'm just looking at his profile here. He's done quite a bit. Yeah, he joined Forbidden on their reunion album, Omega Wave. He's been in Testament, but I think everyone's been in Testament at some point in their career. Dragon Lord, I think that's the Eric from Testament's side project.
Yeah.
From Hell, One Machine. The Essences project, do you think that might have been it?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. The S&S project, sorry. Yeah, no, I'll have to check that out as well.
What was the album? It was something with Spheres, I think. There was something called Sphere.
There's a song on there called Sphere. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe
I'm
just mixing it up.
The S&S project, and it's self-titled as well. But no, I'm going to check that out. So then, yeah, we build up to this album, to the masterpiece, and then things slightly fragment. We get a live album and DVD, The Year of the Voyager.
Yep, I have
where pretty much a perfect 2-hour set. I would even say this could be a good introduction to the band. If you wanted to dive straight in, I find a live album's a pretty good place to start, but some people are different. But then we get a live album to tie you over, whilst Warrel Dane and Jeff Loomis each do solo albums. And I think from listening to these 2 albums and then listening to the next Nevermore album, I think a split is starting to become apparent.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I actually just recently, getting ready for this show, I went and I watched a ton of interviews with Jeff Loomis and the other guys. Jeff Loomis is the one that's the most vocal. And I'll have to say, Jeff Loomis seems like he's just like the nicest guy on earth. Like he just like is so patient, even with dumb questions. He's very smiley and nice. And, when I saw Nevermore, I didn't get a chance to talk, but I did see him interacting with fans and everything. And he's just like so nice, shakes everybody's hand. There are musicians out there that most musicians that you meet aren't dicks, but they are a lot of musicians. I think it's because a lot of guys, especially guitar players, are introverts. So they might just be a little standoffish. They go out and they meet because it's like kind of what they have to do. And then they're like, okay, I got to go into the back and recharge or whatever. Jeff Loomis is like the kind of guy that you could just like walk up and talk to, and he's just such a nice guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's one of those that you just, and he's a big guy too. He's a really tall guy. But here's something funny is that Nevermore, because they got the nickname on the road Never Score, because because they never get any girls because they're all a bunch of goofy looking weirdos. But anyway, I did get the chance to talk with Van Williams for a minute. I got to shake his hand. And, yeah, I got to shake his hand, talk to him for a minute.
He's an underrated drummer, actually. Yeah,
you know, and that's what I told him. I was like, you know what? I really love your drums and everything. I think that, you know, you're whatever. I'm not sure if people like to hear that they're underrated, but he was very cool with it. He's like, oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Blah, blah, blah. I chatted with him. He told me some of the drummers that he grew up listening to, et cetera, et cetera. And then he had to go move on. But it was like he was a very nice guy, outgoing, smiley kind of guy. So, yeah, I them personally. But anyway, going back to the interviews, Jeff Loomis, who's like the kind of guy that would never say a bad word about anybody. He did reveal that there was a little bit of a split going on at that time, and it very much had to do with Warrel Dane and his drinking problems and his like personal emotional problems. And the way he described it, he's like what the one interview said, so what did you feel about, because this is when Warrel Dane just passed. He's like, I was very, very sad about that. Warrel Dane is a very, very dear friend of mine for a very long time, and we had to go separate ways. Warrel Dane was a very tortured soul. He was a very dark soul. And that's why Nevermore, because Nevermore can't exist without Warrel Dane. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Warrel Dane he was an alcoholic. He abused drugs. He was completely broken from his girlfriend or fiance that died years and years ago, never recovered from it. He never reached his true potential. He was just like a tortured soul, and it just ruined him. And I also think that at that time when they started doing solo projects, you know, Jeff Loomis was the hottest shit in the guitar community, right?
This is very much a guitarist solo album, isn't it? Most of it's instrumental. In fact, I think it's only the second album you start getting some vocals. I'll quickly look that up. But yeah, very widdly, very Joe Satriani. If you like your Joe Satriani's, your Steve Vai albums,
and I think
you'll love this.
I think at that time he's going and he's doing the big NAMM things. He's doing clinics at guitar centers. He became a guitar god at this point.
Yeah.
And he actually admitted during this time he was like drinking a lot. He was partying a lot. He wasn't really taking it as serious and professionally as he should have. So he was like in the glitz and glamour and everything, and that probably affected him. He's like, hey, I'm the fucking man. Why am I dealing with Warrel Dane, who's a drunk and can't get out of bed and is like all miserable all the time? You know, I should just go do my own thing. So these guys are probably like, there's a professional and also a friendship split. I don't want to speculate too much, but those two guys kind of splitting apart, I believe, was the reason. And also them putting all of their energy into their solo projects ended up with Obsidian Conspiracy, which is a extremely mediocre album. I think it's their worst album.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we after this. But I think, yeah, you've got you've got big soundscapes, you know, you've got big, beautiful guitar solos. He's shredding left, right, and center. Mark Arrington, who did half of the first Nevermore album, did all the drums on this. And yeah, Jeff did everything else. All the guitars and all the bass. And no, there isn't actually any vocals on this. But there is some guest leads from Pat O'Brien, Ron Jarombeck, I think that is. Mark Kernan and Michael Manring. I don't know who any of them are apart from Pat O'Brien. But
I thought Chris Broderick also was on there.
I think you'll find he's on the next album. But Chris Broderick played guitar on the live album.
Yeah.
Have I got that right? Is this Chris? Is it Chris Broderick?
I think some of it. I think Steve Smythe. No. No. I think I can't remember. It's been so long since I watched it. But at this time, Steve Smythe, I can't remember if both him and Jim Shepard have a pretty gnarly disease. Jim Shepard, one of them has Crohn's disease, and another one has another really bad digestion disease. And Steve Smythe got so sick he couldn't tour, so they brought on Chris Broderick.
Right, yeah, who would then go on to join Megadeth. And he's now, I saw him the other week with In Flames.
Yeah.
I took my boy to see In Flames, and we was upstairs. If you're under 14, you have to be accompanied by an adult, but you're not allowed downstairs. So I was sitting up, looking down with him. He was loving it, and I was just thinking, I know him from somewhere. And then when they introduced him at the end, I was like, oh, it clicked, yeah. But yeah, Warrel Dane's. So yeah, you got Jeff Loomis showing off his chops with this one, but then you got Warrel Dane. He kind of goes a bit. He's attempting to go a bit mainstream, I think, on this album. Do you think?
Yeah.
Trying to go a bit radio friendly.
He sort of went the way of. Do you remember Halloween? Michael Kiske started like trying to become like a pop star and stuff like that. I think Warrel Dane sort of went in that direction, doing sort of like this like poppier kind of gothic sort of thing, and which is weird because that style of music wasn't popular at that time. You know what I mean?
It kind of, there's some songs as well remind me just of that like that American, slightly heavier than rock, but not quite. Someone like Seven Dust or someone like that.
Yeah,
it's like he's going for that, Mark, breaking
like
Benjamin.
new metal.
Yeah. It's like he's verging on that, and you know, with the right management and the right timing, probably could have worked. If he had a good band behind him, he could plug some, you know, play solo stuff, with chuck a Nevermore song here and there, or maybe a Sanctuary one. I think that's what he's getting more at later on. But yeah, it kind of fell flat though, didn't it? So then the bands come back together for the Obsidian Conspiracy, and this will be the last album. I did manage to pick this up on eBay for £5, which I was quite happy with. You got a lot of postcards here with some awesome artwork. Yeah.
Another thing that's interesting about this is one of the songs is written by a fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe the title track is written by a fan.
That's Dystopia there. Yeah. Yeah, you got cool. Yeah, I thought that was worth picking up for next to nothing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the it's an odd one because at first you listen to it and you're thinking, yeah, everything's in place, but by the end of it, it just falls short, doesn't it? It's just something about when this is a million miles from Godless Endeavor, and
it sounds like Nevermore, but none of the songs are good.
Yeah, but it feels like as well he's trying to do on this album what he did on his solo album, because if you look at the length of an album, you'll find that this one's a hell of a lot shorter than the average Nevermore album, and the songs, you know, they were never shy on doing like a 7 minute 6-7 minute song, or maybe like a 10-minute epic here and there, but generally it was like a 5 to 6 7 minutes. This song, all the album songs on this one just fly by.
Yeah, and, there's like a bunch of songs like 2.5-3 minutes. Most of them average about 4 minutes. It's like, I think there's only one song that's over 5 minutes, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah. I quite like that one though. Take me to the seventh shore. the one before it as well. Is that Blue Marble and the New Soul? Yeah, Blue Marble and New Soul, and Without Morals I quite like. But
there's some like, okay. There's some songs that have like they'll have a catchy chorus here. There's like a cool riff here. There's a cool solo there, but none of the songs bring it all together to make like that was a good song beginning to end. You know what I mean?
I've used this analogy before. It's like a shower. It's like, yeah, the water's warm enough, but not quite. And it's there. I can wash myself, but there's no pressure behind it. And yeah, I'm managing. But then when the next day, when the boiler's sorted and all, yeah, right, we're there. That's what that is, isn't it? It's a lukewarm shower.
Yeah.
Right. So then at this point, the band, did they officially split, or did they just sort of just fizzle out and it was just acknowledged that they just weren't?
I think they officially split in like 2012, I believe.
Right.
Like officially.
So we get a second solo album from Jeff Loomis. This is Plains of Oblivion. Picking up really where the last one left off. This is heavily instrumental, but you do get some vocalists contribute to some songs. Let's have a quick look. Yes, you got Christine Rhodes, who we mentioned earlier. She did most notably the backing vocals on Dreaming Neon Black, but she did some other stuff with the band as well. But yeah, she does 4 tracks, and Ishan from Emperor contributes vocals to 1 track as well. And then you got Marty Friedman, Tin McAlpine, Chris Poland from Megadeth, Aaron Smith, all contribute guitar leads, and Dick Verberine, I think that is, current Megadeth drummer and Soilwork drummer, did all the drums on this as well. So, yeah, you pretty much got a 1-2 punch with these 2 albums. It's a shame he doesn't do more, but now I guess, you know, I think you've either got to be a real hardcore Nevermore fan or a complete guitar nut. Yeah. This isn't really a mainstream album, is it?
Yeah, those are albums for guitar players. And I'll be honest, I actually like the first one a little bit better. It's like the second one is like the vote. I don't know. It feels like it's like halfway between like a guitarist instrumental album and a real band album. And it's like, I don't like that. It's like a tease. You know what I mean? I don't know. I like the first one better. I think some of the song, like for example, in the first one, you have a song called like Miles of Machines. Yeah. And like that song just like that song rules. That's a standout. And they got Jado Unit, and there's a few others that are really good and catchy. The second one, I don't know. It's good. It's very good. And it's on par with the other one. Just my personal preference. I prefer the first one.
Maybe if he carried on as a solo artist and developed more of a solid unit, it would be the beginning of something that you could sort of see
like a beginnings kind of thing
later on. Yeah. So so Warrel Dane, he starts touring as a solo artist. He did Dead Heart in a Dead World in Full, but then at some point, him and Jeff Williams. Is Jeff Williams, isn't it? Have I got that right? Help me out here a sec.
What are you talking about? The guy from Sanctuary?
Sanctuary, yeah.
Yeah,
Jim Shepard, sorry. I knew that wasn't right. Yeah, so they reformed Sanctuary and put out The Sun That... The Year the Sun Died. I was going to say The Sun That Never Dies. I was like, that's fucking dumb. Yeah, The Year the Sun Died. Yeah, really good. If you're like I say, if you're feeling a bit let down by the last by Obsidian Conspiracy, check this out, because it's more, I think you've got, when you put this up against Refuge Denied and what was it called, in a Mirror Black, it's 3 very different albums anyway, but I do think that it fits nicely with them. But it's also, it bookends, you know, Sanctuary bookends Nevermore in that way. So it's just as separate, but has just as much in common. Yeah. Kind of like Star Trek. This is your Deep Space Nine, and that's
yeah. That's I haven't heard it.
Check it out. It's a grower. It's I kind of got it and stuck it on the shelf so it's in the collection sort of thing, but I listened to it more in preparation for this episode. And yeah, songs like I Am Low is really good. Questioning Existence Fading, Exitium is really good as well. But yeah, it doesn't come out straight at you. The songs do grow on you, but it does reward.
That was how Godless Endeavor was for me. When I heard Godless Endeavor, like right when it came out, I guess a year or 2 after it came out, and I saw the video for Final Product, and at the time I was like, I remember this band, like this sounds pretty. And at the time, I had a friend, named Andrew, rest in peace, who was like a gigantic Tool fan, right? And the video for Final Product looked kind of like a Tool video, and I was like, yo, check out this video, and he like fell in love with it right away. And he bought the album, and me and him were working together. We actually were roommates at the time. We worked together. We were roommates. So in the work van, we would like listen to it. It would just come on once in a while. He also like pirated it and had it on. He had a Zune player. Remember them big chunky Zune MP3 players? And we'd listen to it, but it had that like, you are now listening to Century Media Records, like in the middle of the song and shit because it was pirated. So like we were listening to it, and it didn't quite click for me. I thought it was like, this is weird. Because at that time, I was like full blown nothing but death metal. You know what I mean? Dying Fetus and like, just Brain Drill. I was like listening to just all the most brutal shit I could find at that time. So I like
I remember Brain Drill, that first album, fucking crazy. Yeah,
I know, it's insane. I can't even go back and listen to it anymore. I've kind of like outgrown tech death a little bit. I guess.
Yeah, I'm going full dad rock these years.
I'm dad metal. Yeah,
I'm all about Deep Purple and Finnersy now.
Yeah. And I'm getting into like doom and stoner stuff. And like that's what I'm into these days. I bring out the old Sabbath albums and Candlemass. But anyway, I got one time he went away, like he went on vacation, and I was in the apartment by myself, and I'm just chilling. And back then, it was like 2000 and whatever. I'm like in my early 20s, and I was like, smoking weed and doing all that kind of stuff. So I'm like just chilling out, playing video games, smoking weed. And I was like, I turned the video games off, and I was like, I want to listen to an album or whatever. And it was just like sitting out, and I put it in my CD player, and I'm just like sitting on the couch, just like zoned out, all baked, smoking, toking on the Doja. And I listened to the whole album front to back. And I was like feeling it. And I played it again, and I listened to it front to back a second time in a row, just like zoned out. And I was like, that was a masterpiece. And from that point on, I fell in love with it. So it was like, so it really grew on me. I didn't get it at first, and it grew on. That's why when I tell people listen to the whole album front to back and give it a chance. Don't just like listen to one song.
Yeah, I mean, I was always aware of it and always liked it, but you did a fantastic podcast. Dave does a show called Culture Dads. So you got the Bizarchives and Imperium Press, and if you subscribe to their Substack, this is an exclusive podcast that you get for the Substack listeners. And Mike from Imperium Press and Dave swap albums, and your enthusiasm for Godless Endeavor made me listen to it with fresh ears, and really did it shone out just how genius the album is. That's what discovering an album's nice, but when an album that you are familiar with, but you hear someone just talking about how much they love it, it's just infectious, and you go, I'm pumped to listen to this now, and that's why we ended up doing this show, to expand on it, really. But and
then towards the end, I just want to bring you talking about Sanctuary. Warrel Dane, when they got back with Sanctuary, they started touring, and this is when Warrel Dane, unfortunately passed away. If you go listen to the last shows that he was doing with Sanctuary, he sounded really bad. He was looking really sick. He was just not himself, and unfortunately, he passed away after that. So that was like, that's the end. And there's never. And Jeff Loomis gets asked in interviews all the time, "Are you guys gonna get Nevermore back together?" And he says like, "No, Warrel Dane is dead. There's no more Nevermore. It'll never happen again."
I think Sanctuary carried on with a different but what they said was, we're going to honor the dates we've got. So we're going to finish what we started. And someone did step in then just to finish those days off. And then that was a tip of a hat to Warrel. But no, I don't know. I've often said, if Queen can sell out Wembley Stadium without Freddie Mercury, I think all bets are off. I think if the money's there, they'll always look at what Pantera are doing now. I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying that it could happen. The probably wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be a good move. I mean, some people are irreplaceable, but it seems to be they're doing it. But we've got one more to cover. Warrel Dane, we did get one more solo album. And unfortunately, this is it wasn't completed when he died, but they took together his vocals from the demos and different takes and edited together, and they managed to put together an album. And the musicians did finish off their parts. Have you heard this one?
Shadow Work, is that what that is? I heard some of it. I don't really care for his solo stuff. I don't really care for it.
This one's a bit more metal than the first one. I think playing Dead Heart in a Dead World rubbed off on him on this one. It's got some Madam Satan is a bit. The title says it all, really. But yes, Shadow Work and Rain are two really good songs. There's a classic Warrel does a cover as well, does The Hanging Garden by The Cure. And it's worth a go. It gives you an idea of where he was heading, you know. And yeah, we've reached the end. So yeah, I think we're pretty much agreed. Godless Endeavor is the best place to start, followed by Dead Heart in a Dead World. And yeah, I think tip your hat if you're watching this, and raise your glass to Warrel Dane, because he was a fantastic singer. And yes,
Warrel Dane is a very interesting singer, because he's a classically trained opera singer.
Yeah.
And despite, if you go and you listen, especially his early stuff where he does the soaring falsettos, that is like a testament to his vocal range, because he's a natural baritone. He has the same natural voice range that I do. You know what I mean? If you go watch his interviews, he's got a deep voice.
Yeah.
And for guys that have it's very, very weird and very incredible for a guy that is a baritone to have crazy soaring falsettos like that. And also, his technique evolves over time. If you listen to him in the early days, he had a very tight, fluttering kind of vibrato. And then as time goes on, his vibrato gets wider. Like he starts to sound more like a Dio or a Dickinson or something like that. He has a really wide Jeff Tate style vibrato. So it's really incredible to listen to his voice and his techniques as time goes on, and how although like he kind of gets away from that early thrash style vocals. He starts sounding less like Bobby Blitz or David Wayne, and starts to sound more like an opera singer. He starts sounding more like a Mario Lanza or something like that, which is interesting, because that wide vibrato got really introduced by Dio. And Dio said he does that vocal technique because he grew up listening to Mario Lanza and Italian tenors and stuff like that. So it's really strange the influence that these different types of music had on metal vocals.
Yeah, definitely, man. But yeah, this I'm really glad we managed to do this. And you cannot go wrong, folks. There is no wrong answer. You got a powerful body of work here with Nevermore. And,
one of the greatest bands ever.
Yeah, definitely, man. And it's been a pleasure. But yeah, go check out Nevermore if you haven't. Hopefully we've given you the perfect introduction. And go on to the Bizarchives and pick yourself up a freaky sci-fi book.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And yeah, check out the Bizarchives, the website. Check out Dave's YouTube channel. And yeah, it's a pleasure as always, Dave. And you're welcome back whenever you're ready. Thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Right. Thanks for watching, guys. And yeah, check out the Bizarchives. If you haven't already, go check out Dave's previous appearance where we talk about all the books. And yeah, go get yourself some books. Go check out the website. Give us one of them. Help the channel out. And I'll see you all soon. Take care.